Welcome back to our latest research update. There's a study come through this week which has really gotten a lot of press. I kind of like it. Most back pain studies I'm really not a big fan of, but this one got some really attention-grabbing headlines. Things like only 1 in 10 back pain treatments actually work, which means 9 out of 10 back pain treatments don't work. You can imagine how, when things like this come out, big news and media outlets come up with amazing headlines to grab attention. But I did think I'd do a special recording about this study because I really think it speaks to some of my own personal beliefs about why we do have a back pain epidemic. So it was published in the British Medical Journal. Apologise if I just read some key findings here. Basically, they looked at 301 rigorous trials of 56 treatments or treatment combinations to see which ones made low back pain less intense. Now, the treatments that worked for acute low back pain, meaning you're in it and you're really sore, not chronic pain, acute low back pain, which is classically any pain that's been present for less than 6 weeks. What did work? Surprise, surprise, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen or diclofenac or naproxen. For chronic back pain, though, that was lasting 12 weeks or more, the most helpful treatments were exercise, manipulative therapy, taping, antidepressant medication, and good old capsaicin patches, which they're stick-on heat pads, which I'm actually a really big fan of. But all of these treatments reduced pain by only 4 to 8 points on a 100-point scale. So they worked, but they didn't work amazingly well. And I will say in isolation, which we'll speak to a little bit later. Treatments that didn't work for acute low back pain, exercise, cortisone shots, and a drug called acetaminophen, which is, from what I can recall, a nerve modulating drug, were not effective. For chronic back pain, what didn't work? Antibiotics and anesthetics, such as lignocaine, they didn't help. And for all other treatments, the evidence was inconclusive. Now, remember, they were assessing non-invasive treatment, so they weren't looking at surgery. Which begs the question, there's a $1 billion market of people making money out of all those treatments that we just mentioned. And like I've always said, some of these things, there's no harm in trying them because as long as they don't harm you, what have you got to lose? My programs are all about stubborn and persistent pain that's been lasting for longer than six, usually lasting longer than 12 weeks. By that stage of the game, we know that those things aren't going to really cut the mustard. And it's really nice to have a study validate that. So I guess at the end of the day, I would encourage you to realize patch and dispatch methodologies are symptomatic relief for short periods of time. And for those in acute pain, that could be exactly what they need for a little while. The body gets on with restoring and healing, and they move forward unhindered. For the bulk of people caught in the chronic pain cycle, it's just not that easy. It may be that you have to combine a capsaicin patch with a movement, with a mindset shift, with a reframe of how you're viewing your situation, with some breath work, with speaking to a coach to help you identify your own limiting beliefs about your situation. You may have to make a few choices about things in your life that aren't working for you. It's complicated. And I think we just simply need to acknowledge that, yes, the experience for everybody is unique. Yes, the way out might require you to take a few steps in a few different directions, but that it is possible. And that's always been the message of this channel. It is possible. What's going to be required is multifactorial. If you're bashing your head against a brick wall and only exploring one outlet, one way that's body focused, then I would encourage you to open your mind and start exploring your pain from many angles. And there's plenty of ideas on this channel. Now, interestingly, in this wrap up of new research for the last few weeks since I've recorded the previous video, there's nothing else. There was one study which was, I really didn't even quite understand it myself, and on medical, it was talking about placebo opiates. Didn't understand it, didn't seem to show any efficacy, which doesn't surprise me. But studies like this somehow continue to get funded, which I find frustrating because I feel the studies that need to be looked at look at our whole person, not just our physical body. But we'll get there. Science is evolving all the time. That's the wrap up. And I trust that this lands. I trust that perhaps it helps offer you some clarity for where you are today. As always, there's a book, there's a mini course, there's a big course, and there's consulting options available. We look forward to helping you from where you are now into a bulletproof state.